Russia says it's ready to move fast on a deal for peace in Ukraine, but says the main thing remains to achieve its goals, which have not changed. It comes as President Zelensky says Ukraine has offered to meet Russian negotiators next week as fighting continues. Yesterday, a Russian drone attack on the Ukrainian port city of Odessa killed at least one person. Whilst overnight, Russia's defence ministry said it had downed 142 drones, including 27 over the Moscow region. Our correspondent Charlotte Gallagher is in Kyiv and explains more.
Most of the drones that came over into Ukraine from Russia were focused very much on the eastern side of Ukraine, near the front line. And in fact, an elderly woman was killed in Sumy, but there was also drones flying over Donetsk, Luhansk, which is where the front line is, mainly. And then also in Russia, as you heard there, Russia says it shot down more than 100 drones and a number of them over Moscow. They say that Moscow's airport was closed at one point. They had to reschedule flights because of drones in the air. Now, in Ukraine, there are no longer any commercial flights due to the dangers of missiles and also drones. But in Russia, they've still been running commercial flights for passengers. And Moscow has been fairly cushioned, really, from a lot of the war. I mean, they have had drones certainly above the city before, but Moscow residents wouldn't have seen them that often. So probably for them, it's still quite shocking every time they hear that drones have been shot down over Moscow. But certainly we haven't heard any reports from Russia of any casualties inside Russia last night from the drones.
In the meantime, Charlotte, talk, at least again, of the possibility of the two sides, Russia and Ukraine, sitting down and having discussions about peace.
Yes, I mean, there was a very big caveat there, wasn't there, from Moscow saying that they are ready to move towards this deal with Ukraine, but they said their objectives haven't changed. And to remind you of their objectives, they want to take Donetsk, Luhansk and have them as part of Russia. So they're Ukrainian territories. They want them as part of Russia. They also want a deal that Ukraine will never join NATO. And it's really hard to see at the moment Ukraine agreeing to such a deal, to such a ceasefire. And when you talk to people in Ukraine, you ask them, how would you feel about giving up, Donetsk, Luhansk and that becoming part of Russia? And they say, well, the thing is, they don't believe that Vladimir Putin would stop there. He would want more and more. So they would certainly want some kind of security guarantee that that would be the end of it. Russian troops wouldn't be back trying to take more of Ukraine. I mean, they've had these talks before in Turkey and they haven't really moved towards any kind of ceasefire. They have, though, agreed the exchange of prisoners of war. And of course, for individual families and individual prisoners of war, that's a huge step because some of these people have been held for over 3 years, both inside Ukraine and inside Russia. So for those families getting their relatives back, that is, of course, hugely important.